We come to the portion of the service before we do our end times and news, or before we do our Bible study, we do the end time news and Bible prophecy. This is update number 53, and we want to welcome our online church and subscribers around the world. Thank you for joining with us and partnering with us. We mentioned in times past about the 6 different signs of the times, and that's kind of our filter grid as we go through some of the events of the world, and most of those grid is coming from Matthew 24. They're talking about earthquakes in various places and pestilences and those sort of things. So you have the earth and sky. You have the dealings with the morality issues around the world. You got religion around the world. You've got the nations and how there's wars and rumors of wars, kingdom against kingdom. There's technological issues to deal with, and also, of course, Israel and the Middle East. This last week, again, just looking and observing the frequency of the earthquakes, and the intensity of it has increased like never before. Just on Friday, when I was kind of observing some of the things that are going on, there's 47 earthquakes just on Friday alone of 2.5 and above. In the last 7 days, of all magnitude of sizes, there's over 1,891 earthquakes that happened in the last 7 days. So we're starting to see frequencies around the world like never before. And of course there's flooding and tornadoes and other disasters happening all over the world. So it's just something that we need to just pay attention to. As Jesus says, there's going to be earthquakes in various places. On a moral issue, as you know, that on Monday out of the USA Today, the Boy Scouts of America in the ban on gay scout leaders. So the Boy Scouts have bowed into this pressure and allowing the ban of gay leaders, paving the way for this change and within the organization. And so it's a historical vote that lifts the ban on a national issue, but then it goes back to a local level. There's a lot of the Boy Scouts are run by church organizations, or it comes out of a church. It originally was founded as a Christian organization. So they're supposed to have their own rights to these policies, but again, you know that's going to be tested and fought for. Sad and disheartening to hear this. It was such a great organization. I myself I'm an Eagle Scout. I love the Boy Scouts. It was a great program. But this new policy will open so many more doors for the homosexual movement and also pedophilia that will end up taking place. These moral issues will not only destroy the scouting organization, but look at the amount of lives that it has potentially to destroy. So this is a tragic decision. So shame on the 71 board members of the Boy Scouts of America to allow this thing to happen, to put young boys in danger of this movement. And so time will tell what will happen. But again, we've never seen anything like this happen in the Boy Scouts of America, and around the world they'll follow like suit. Jesus also said in Matthew 24, there's going to be many false Christs that are going to rise up. There's a lot that have been risen up in the last several years. 2 here in Australia. One was back in 2013, about the same time this other guy that came out. But this news report that came out of the Daily Mail on Monday, and also Charisma News, he's from Queensland, and he claims that he's the Messiah, and his face is the carbon copy of the Shroud of Turin. So he believes that he is the second coming of Jesus Christ, and he also sent a letter to, at the time, Pope Benedict, and the Vatican is now also saying that he's convinced too of this. His name is Brian Marshall. He lives just north of Brisbane, and he claims to be the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. Well, that's your problem right there, because Jesus will not be reincarnated. He's a 71-year-old. He's published a lot of images and a lot of videos online proving and claiming that he is the Shroud of Turin, which is a religious artifact that some believe bears the image of Jesus. He's recorded heaps of videos, and he's got his heavy Australian accent. He wears his Hawaiian T-shirt, and to his so-called growing followers, by all means, no one's really flocking out to hear him, but there is a handful that are coming to him. He's declared himself to be the most holy man. And he also shared that Pope Benedict refers to him as Jesus Christ reincarnated. The article went on to talk about how certain people around the world are now coming to him, how they're leaving family members behind to hear this kind of wacko claiming that he is the Messiah, and but he's just a false Christ leading people astray. And if people just, again, read their Bibles, they test all things, hold fast what is good, you would know that this guy's false. Again, the tribulation hasn't happened yet. The rapture hasn't happened yet. And so how can the second coming already be now? And also, if he is the Christ, why is he here in Australia, not in Jerusalem, ruling and reigning as King of Kings and Lord of Lords? You know, that should get people's attention. Also, out of the Times Magazine, a couple other articles followed this, but the unveiling of the satanic statue in Detroit took place this last previous week. So it's a bronze statue nearly 9 feet tall that depicts the winged hermaphrodite known as Baphomet, and these two smiling children looking up at this kind of goat's head. And it was a little before midnight on Saturday night last week. Hundreds gathered around this particular warehouse where they got some information. And this image was in a disclosed area, and only certain people, they wouldn't let the media in. But they said this was the largest satanic ceremony in history. I doubt that they did the full ceremony in this particular thing, because there's a lot of other sacrifices that have to happen, because there's other people who were just curious about it, and they also saw the unveiling. Another BBC report article that kind of went through the decoding of this image and explaining the symbols of this blasphemous statue. The article also mentioned how the satanic group that's behind all this, they want to place it opposite of the Ten Commandments, which is in Oklahoma City Capitol building, and they say this will be a great complement in contrast to the Christian commandments. So you see they're blatant, and how they're going about this. On a technological issue, something probably some of you have heard in times past, but there's a potential attack called an EMP, an Electro-Magnetic-Pulse. And the ex-CIA director of the United States, James Woolsey, he warned lawmakers that natural and man-made electromagnetic pulse presents an external threat to America. So he warned that the EMP is a clear and present danger that must be done something must be done to protect the electric grid and other life-sustaining critical infrastructures. Because if things are not put in place, it will destroy every electric issue goes around the United States. He also warned that it can kill up to 90% of the national population through starvation, disease, and other societal collapse. Experts that maintain that the electromagnetic pulse, the EMP, resulting from a high-altitude detonation of a nuclear weapon high above the jet stream, perhaps by a rogue state, or even perhaps even what they call the geomagnetic superstorm that's caused by the sun, which conceivably lead to an electric blackout lasting for months or even years. And it was also interesting, on Wednesday, the Yahoo News came out with the statement saying the Earth will only have 12 hours to prepare for a massive solar storm. So potentially that could happen. Also within the Wall Street Journal, there was a study by the U.S. Federal Energy Regulatory Commission that says that the terror attack that can destroy 9 of the key transformer substations around the United States that would cause a nationwide blackout lasting for 18 months. That's how they could destroy America. They don't have to throw a nuclear bomb in a city. They just do this EMP and it destroys America's infrastructure. It will affect the communication, the transportation, the banking and the finances, all the food and water, everything. So it's a very simple way, and this EMP has been a threat for quite some time, a couple decades now. He also mentioned that the North Korea or Iran could easily throw a Scud missile over the nation's coast and can set off a severe nuclear device that would, at high altitude, that would knock out the substantial portion of the grid. So just threats that are imminent, that can happen. The technological issues are there. ready to go. And then finally, on a Middle East and Israeli issue, again, the Iranian foreign minister urges nuclear Israel and other states to disarm. So as they went through this nuclear arms deal, and as they're building their nuclear weapon, they want all the other countries around to disarm. And so they are trying to push for this. There's 8 other major countries that do have nuclear weapons. The UK, the United States, Russia, China, India, Pakistan, and also North Korea. France also has, from what we're told as well. So they're wanting the world to disarm while they themselves are starting to gear up for an attack. And then finally, out of the Israeli national news, which is kind of interesting, effects here in Australia, is that the Australian Labor Party, which is currently in opposition, which is a wonderful thing, and but they agreed this week on a resolution that should they get into power, that would consider to recognize Palestine's statehood. So when you recognize Palestine as a statehood, it's a vote against Israel, because Palestine and a lot of the other countries around want to wipe Israel off the face of the map. They want to take over. And so the motion stipulated that such a course of action, because of the lack of progress currently in the stalled peace talks between Israel and Palestine. So that's why they're wanting to negotiate and join forces with other like-minded countries that want to support Palestine. But basically, when you support Palestine, you're going against Israel. And so the Palestinian Authority estimates there's over 135 countries that now have recognized Palestine as a state, although that number is highly disputed. So each week, again, it's getting more and more exciting as we start to see the events of the world unfolding as believers, because we know the rapture is getting closer and closer. That can happen at any time. So we're excited, but just for us to pay attention to, and again, as we mentioned, these are great opportunities to witness to people, because people will talk about end times events, and a lot of times we just say it's just going to get worse, and they kind of, well, why are you so negative? Well, because the Bible says, we know what's going to happen, so we have, we know the end from the beginning because the Bible has told us what's going to happen. And so that's exciting for us, great witnessing opportunity. Amen? And that concludes today's update.